you know you're old and you can remember groups that kind of came and went before your kids were even born. And there was one that was popular when I was in college called Supertramp. And they had something called a logical song, right? I really need an illogical song, because that's what this is all about. It doesn't really have a lot of common sense rhyme and reason about it. It's just about enjoying things. Sometimes you get to be my age, having it just right doesn't freaking matter. I get a lot of fun out of some of the guys who'll comment on some of my prior videos in that big giant G88 or 888. Oh, you have to have a 25 or have to have a 36. No, I really don't. It doesn't really matter which one I have, as long as I'm having a little bit of fun with it. And I have. It's been a lot of fun for me, actually. I put some time on with that half a bar, that 20-inch bar. But look at this. Put my money where my mouth is. I think these are the best bang for buck you can get for the big saws, you know, especially for out here with that really, really strong sprocket nose bar that they make, Stihl makes. And I know there's going to be people who are upset. So I bought two of them. I bought a 36. And yeah, it's pricey. It's $100. But it's worth every penny of $100. There's a lot of other bars you can spend the same kind of money on that are just not going to last as long. And I think, you know, as much as I like my lightweight bars, like these, I have them on my logical saw. It's almost like the song, isn't it? There's nothing logical about this big saw here. If it makes me have a little bit of fun, gives a little joy to my life, that's the definition of win. If it's configured the right way or not, doesn't freaking matter. And I actually understand enough about chainsaws to know that, yeah, when you have a 23-pound power head, 123 cc's, 20-inch bar probably isn't the best bar for it to take advantage of all that power. And so spare me those kind of comments. I don't need them. But hopefully you guys will have a little bit of fun too, either watching me struggle with it, or should you indulge, we can kind of go through this journey together, because it is unusual, to say the least. And it's good exercise, because you smile while you're working your ass off. Now I actually have some snags down there that I want to take down. There's about 20 acres behind the camera that has a lot of dead wood, and I wanted to start cleaning that out, partly because it gives me a reason to run my saws, but partly because I want to start upgrading the value of that land over time. I'll be long in the ground being a worm farm before it really pays off, but maybe my kids or grandkids. So if I start doing things now, clean it up, it'll grow back and have more value in the future. And it gives me a chance to run saws like this, even though they're completely illogical. And this saw right here would be perfectly adequate to do the job. This is my insurance policy. Before this was 372s, 272s, 365s, and it's broke in a little bit now. I've got some time on it, and it's a very, very, very nice saw. Heartily recommend one of these for a farmer or landowner, even a tree service type person. These are the 565s. And it's rare that I actually endorse saws, but I will endorse this one because it might be a little heavy for what it is, but it's rugged. And it actually feels pretty good. You know, it has decent power for the weight. And I think what I'm going to do with it, before I get too far into this, is kind of cut my way down to the work I have and clean around the work instead of using the big saw for that. This will do just fine. But what I have to do is I have to change over. Now I bought this one here. This is a 36-inch bar. And the part number on this, I'll bring it up to the camera. And then I'll read it to you because I need my glasses to read it. is 302-000-9753 XB, and it's a 36, takes 108 links, 404, and it's got the .063 or 6mm groove in the bar, and I like it. These things here, I like them. The bar I'm going to use today is not quite as ambitious, and it's got a part number of 302-000-9731, 25-inch bar, 80 links, 404, also the .063. So I'm going to put this bar on it. I don't know what that stuff is. We'll find out, right? I have to give Gene down at C&Y Farm Supply some kudos, because he came up with the chain, the 404 chain. They've got it down there, and he was able to make me some loops, you know, to fit the bar. So thank you, Gene. It's nice having a good steel dealer. These guys do a pretty good job. And I'm thinking that one's for the 25, and this one here is for the 36. Nice, fresh, new chain. I like this stuff. And while I was down there, I got a whole bunch of fuel line related things to my outboard project. I'll probably put a little video of that in there. I've got my big Johnson 70 horse three-cylinder running pretty good, but it needs some fuel line because the connections between the line and the fittings are leaking. But it's a nice looking bar. One of the things I have said before, and I'll say it again, is my experience around here, living vicariously through some of my customers, is that these tips last the life of a logger in this part of the country, bore cutting hardwood. So that's one of the reasons why these guys are, I think, a very desirable option, especially for the money. I don't think they're that expensive for what they are, you know. Now, the other thing that I did was, because we have all that displacement, right, is these are 8-tooth or 8-pin sprockets versus the 7 that came on there. And it's not the number of teeth that really matters, it's the diameter of the sprocket. And obviously the number of teeth are a way for people to articulate bigger or smaller. But if you think about it, every revolution of that sprocket, that distance, is how far the chain travels per revolution. So obviously the larger the sprocket, the more distance it travels, which means you have more chain speed. Well, let's just juice it up a little bit. I'm going to try to get a 9-tooth sprocket as well for the smaller bars, and possibly even go to a 10-tooth 3/8 and put a 3/8 chain on one of these bars, changing the nose out. We'll see, because really making a saw cut faster is about chain speed more than power. If you've got enough power to get the chain speed, you're going to have the cut speed. And I don't want to make the saw spin any faster than it really has to, so I'll take advantage of its power by using gearing effectively to get the chain speed a little higher. Make myself a hot saw just simply by doing that. It says 063, so it should be all right. But I can tell you right now, it's tight. So we're going to have to let it break its way in the hard way. if it will. Give it a chance. So I think what I'm going to do is see if I can get it started up like this, and then let it run in, and then tighten it up afterwards. That change speed is definitely noticeable. It cuts that stuff crazy fast. Just take down this snag right here, and maybe the next one. Wow. I don't know how much of that I got, but one thing I can tell you is that thing cuts crazy fast with that sprocket. So I got another big one here. I wonder if I can put that one down, lay it out that way, and use that saw right there to make that happen. I think I'm going to shut the camera off and clear some brush, work my way down to the tree. But the one thing I can say for sure is, like I said before, that thing is not lacking for horsepower at all. It's a bit of a gas hog. And yeah, it's heavy. The 25-inch bar with that 8-pin sprocket, you can't even feel it with power. No matter what I'm doing, whether it's in the wood, out of the wood, as soon as you hit the gas, the thing just goes. And it is heavy, it's a backache. So anyway, let me shut the camera off and save some time. And let me get myself situated where I can go down in there and cut that one tree. Now there's a lot of deadwood in here. Lots of deadwood. And this will be firewood. And more likely than not, I'll block it up right here and take it out with a quad or a tractor because it's really a steep bank. And then in the time of year that I'd be skidding, it's more than I want to tackle, so I take it a piece at a time. So, like that one right there is alive, but the one behind it's dead. And this one right here, into the sunshine, that's a big dead tree. That's all firewood, a little bit dangerous. I got to be careful that it doesn't decide to have one of those things drop off on me, you know. So I'm going to cut a path down through here with this big saw. You know, I just loaded it back up. It puts down fuel in a hurry. So, of course, you don't make horsepower without burning fuel and air. So, I put a new battery in the camera. I don't know how long it's going to last. These batteries have not been doing very well. So, I'm going to cut my way through here first and cut my way down into there. Let me get the camera on so you can watch that. I guess this is just spending an afternoon with that big blue monster right there. Big blue. So far I'm having fun. What a beast. What a beast. And that Stihl bar, you know, again, I've said it for years. They make good stuff. It's a very, very nice bar for the money. You know, I don't see the sense in buying some of the aftermarket stuff. Really. When you can get one of that quality for, I think that was like maybe $75 or $80, that bar, and then the 36 was like $100, $110 maybe. You know, sure they're heavy, but man, do they build them strong. I love those tips. Now obviously that thing weighs a ton, but it makes a lot of power, you know. And for get-togethers and fun and spending an afternoon, a couple hours like this, where I might put down 3 or 4 tanks. You know, I'm old, but I can still deal with it. And the thing's fun. And there's 2 ways of getting a fast saw. One is having a big displacement saw and jack up the chain speed with larger diameter sprockets, right? And the other is to make the chain spin faster by making the motor spin faster. A lot of the smaller saws where you hop them up, like my 562, part of what you get is, yeah, I can pull a taller gear because I have higher compression. But its game is RPMs. It's kind of like a boat. You get out there in the river, get it up on plane, and then the top speed is determined by the pitch of the prop and the RPM of the motor. Well, with a saw, the same thing. It's the number of pins on the sprocket, and actually the diameter of the sprocket, and how many RPMs you can hold when you're cutting with the power head. So on a thing like this, the easiest way to hop that saw up is not make it spin faster, you know, especially with some of these aftermarket saws. Don't make them spin, just make them make torque and add some diameter to the sprocket to get your chain speed. You can still end up with a fast saw, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have to stress the power head. Like this one here, it would make virtually no sense to me to add a lot of RPMs to this thing, you know. Maybe a Stihl 880, you could spin it. But on this one here, let it be what it is. It cuts pretty fast, as you are going to see. But anyway, enough of that. knew it was going to break. I didn't know if it was going to break up on top or where it did. Well, I think that's enough for an afternoon. Maybe I'll run it out of gas. Spend a little time blocking some of this up. You know, actually, for that kind of work, that saw right there is just fine. Now, I don't know if you saw what I did. I was afraid it was going to break out that way, so I went from that side first, and then I came over to this side where I had some running room before I kind of started digging into it. And sure enough, it broke. I thought it was going to break further up, but I was afraid of it breaking further up, but that worked out right. Kind of what I wanted. So, all right. Let me see if I can break that down a little more. I want to get some of this stuff down for Bob when he comes up, you know. He's got stuff to whittle on. So, well, I have a lot of that deadwood that has to come down, and that saw right there is just the perfect saw to do it. You know. And this is why you have practical saw, because you have situations like this. And oftentimes I can hammer myself out with an axe, but this time it's a little bit too hard. Now, before I get into this, one thing I want you to notice is that log is on the other side of that tree, so I don't think it's coming my way. Although this is going to drop straight down, might roll my way. So I want to clear my footing first with practical saw. And what practical saw has to do, it has to start easy because I'm already tired. I can't fight with starting a saw, so it's got to be a reasonably easy starting saw. It has to have enough power to do the job. But it can't be so much weight where, you know, I'm worn out, tired, frustrated. This is not that, but let's say I was, that I've got a problem just running the saw. So let's see what we got here. that's why practical saw exists. That right